If you're getting ready to take your TEAS 7 exam soon, let's go over some flashcards together. In this video, we're going over specifically flashcards for the concepts and the keywords that you need to know as it relates to the cardiovascular system. Remember, when you take your TEAS 7 science section, that there's going to be 18 scored questions on A&P, and that can definitely include the cardiovascular system as well as other things like the organization of the human body, muscular system, skeletal system, and so much more. If you need help studying for your TEAS exam, be sure to check out the links down in our description or check out our TEAS 7 online course that has everything that you need to study for the TEAS exam in one place. So let's get right into it. The best way to do this is I'm going to say a word and you need to think about how you would define that word. If there are any words, any concepts that come up during these flashcards that you get wrong or that you're not familiar with, just make a note for yourself so that way you know what to study. All right, so let's get started with the word blood. What is blood and how would you define blood? What's important to know about blood is that it is a fluid connective tissue that transports substances throughout the body. It has a pH of about 7.4, and of course, it is thicker than water. What's also important to note here is that you know the three types of formed elements, which are the red blood cells, the white blood cells, and the platelets. Let's keep it moving. Let's talk about erythrocytes. What are they and how would you define them? Okay, so erythrocytes is basically the scientific name for red blood cells. You do need to know their size, and if you've seen any of our other TEAS 7 science videos, I'm always advising you to make sure that you are clear on what the function is. So you always want to make sure that when you're studying, you know the functions and you know the size and unique characteristics as well as structure. So in this case, their primary function is to participate in gas exchange, primarily with oxygen and carbon dioxide. Let's talk about leukocytes. Leukocytes is the scientific name for the white blood cells. Their primary function is to protect the body from foreign substances by eliciting an immune response. Now let's talk about thrombocytes. Thrombocytes is the scientific name for platelets. Platelets are the smallest of the formed elements in blood. They are cell fragments, not full cells. And their primary function is to help with blood clotting and wound healing. Buffy coat. What is the buffy coat? The buffy coat is a thin white layer in a blood sample that appears. It contains the white blood cells, which help fight infections, as well as the platelets, which will help with the clotting. So you can see here in the picture, it is that thin white coat between the plasma and the erythrocytes. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, it's extremely important when you're taking the TEAS exam to really know what the functions are. So let's go over what are the functions of blood. The functions of blood primarily boil down to transportation, regulation, and protection. What I want you to make a specific note about is when I say transportation, I mean carrying the gases, the nutrients, the wastes, and the hormones throughout the body. Next, let's move on to vasodilate. What is this and what does it mean? And remember, guys, if there's any terms you don't know, or if you feel not ready, not confident as you're getting ready for your TEAS exam, you can check out the TEAS 7 online course at www.smarteditionacademy.com. You can also check out the links in the bio for a free TEAS 7 practice test. That practice test is going to come with a diagnostic report telling you everything that you need to study and focus on based on what you score in each section. So vasodilation is the process where blood vessels expand or they widen. And you can take a look at that picture and kind of take a look at what is happening in the picture right here to the right. Basically, this allows for more blood to flow through the vessels, which helps the body lose heat. And this happens when the body needs to cool down. So the opposite of vasodilate is going to be vasoconstrict. So what is vasoconstrict and how would you describe it? What is happening in the body during this process? So vasoconstriction is the process where the blood vessels narrow or they contract. This is going to reduce blood flow near the surface of the skin, and it actually helps the body retain heat. Hemostasis. Hemostasis is the process the body uses to stop bleeding and keep blood in its liquid form after a blood vessel is damaged. Now let's step it up a notch by talking about what are the steps of hemostasis. What are the steps? So here you can take a screenshot and you can pay attention to the picture here. So this is going to be going over step 1, 2, and 3 of hemostasis. You've got your vesicular spasm, your platelet plug formation, and then your clotting. Antigens. What are they and how would you describe them? Antigens are molecules found on the surface of cells, including red blood cells, that help the body recognize whether a cell is self or foreign. Antibodies. What are antibodies? What do they do? Antibodies are proteins in the blood that help the body fight infections. They are part of the immune system and work by recognizing and binding to foreign substances like bacteria or viruses, marking them for destruction or neutralization by other immune cells. So what is the difference between an antibody and an antigen? The key difference is that antigens are foreign substances like bacteria or viruses that trigger an immune response, and antibodies are proteins produced by the immune system to fight and neutralize those antigens. As it relates to your TEAS exam, you will need to know the major blood groups. More specifically, you're going to need to know what blood groups can donate and can accept blood from other blood groups. And this is something that you were just simply going to have to memorize. So with that being said, what are the major blood groups? Well, the major blood groups are going to be blood group A, blood group B, blood group O, blood group AB. And I've included a little chart here so you can take a screenshot and study which blood groups can accept blood from and whom they can donate blood to. This is going to be something that you need to know for your TEAS exam, and you're going to need to know it regardless as you prepare to get into your program. Let's go over agglutination. What is it and what does it do? Agglutination is the clumping together of cells or particles due to a reaction between antigens and antibodies. So think of it as kind of like the puzzle pieces fitting together. When testing blood types, special antibodies are added to a blood sample. If the blood has matching antigens on its red blood cells, the antibodies will attach to them, causing the blood cells to stick together and form clumps. This clumping helps scientists determine which antigens are present and therefore what kind of blood type a person has. What are the 3 types of blood vessels? The 3 types of blood vessels are arteries, veins, capillaries. What are the 4 steps of systemic circulation? The 4 steps of systemic circulation are as follows. The pulmonary vein pushes oxygenated blood into the left atrium. As the atrium relaxes, oxygenated blood drains into the left ventricle through the mitral valve. The left ventricle pumps oxygenated blood to the aorta. Blood then travels through the arteries and the arterioles before reaching the capillaries that surround the tissues. What are the 5 steps of pulmonary circulation? So here are the 5 steps. You've got the 2 major veins, the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. They bring deoxygenated blood from the upper and lower half of the body. Deoxygenated blood is pooled into the right atrium and then sent in the right ventricle through the tricuspid valve, which prevents blood from flowing backwards. Then the right ventricle contracts, causing the blood to be pushed through the pulmonary valve into the pulmonary artery. Deoxygenated blood becomes oxygenated in the lungs. Oxygenated blood returns from the lungs to the left atrium through the pulmonary veins. So what is the difference between pulmonary and systemic circulation as it relates to the cardiovascular system in the human body? So what's important to know is that the pulmonary circulation, you're really talking about the lungs, and the purpose of the circulation is to get oxygen into the blood and remove carbon dioxide. On the other hand, systemic circulation is talking about delivering oxygen-rich blood to the body and bringing back waste. What are the 4 heart chambers? The heart has 4 chambers: the right atrium, the right ventricle, the left atrium, and the left ventricle. What are the 3 layers that make up the heart wall? You have your pericardium, your myocardium, and your endocardium. Atria. What is atria? The atria are the 2 upper chambers of the heart that receive the blood. It's made up of the right atrium and the left atrium. And just to be clear, it's important to know everything that I've included here on the screen. I am just not verbatim reading it back to you because I know that you can read and you might want to hit pause and just take your own notes. So I am speaking the short version of it, but I want to make sure that when you're taking notes and you're testing yourself, that you really are familiar and understanding that you have to know everything that is on the screen when I am flipping the back of the flashcard. And remember, if any of this is unfamiliar to you, the TEAS 7 online course available at smarteditionacademy.com will teach you and refresh your knowledge of everything that you need to know for A&P, biology, chemistry, scientific reasoning, math, reading, and the English section of your TEAS exam. Ventricles, what are they and what do they do? Now, the ventricles are the two lower chambers of the heart that pump blood out. It is comprised of the right ventricle and the left ventricle. And you can see that here on our diagram. Septum. What is the septum? What does it do, or what does it consist of? The septum is a muscular wall that separates the left and right sides of the heart. Its main purpose is to prevent oxygen-rich and oxygen-poor blood from mixing. What are the 4 heart valves? The heart has 4 valves that regulate blood flow into and out of the heart. They are tricuspid, pulmonary, mitral, and aortic. And again, make sure that you know more than just those 4 words. Make sure you really know and you study what is happening in each of those valves. So make sure you're taking notes based on what is on the screen. What is the cardiac cycle? The complete cycle, beginning with the atrial contraction, ending with the ventricular contraction, is called the cardiac cycle. It happens in 2 phases, and it really consists of the heart relaxing and filling, and then contracting and pumping. What is an electrocardiogram? An electrocardiogram, also known as an EKG, is a graph that shows the heart's rate and rhythm over a period of time. And you can see a picture of an EKG here on the screen. What's specifically important to know as it relates to your TEAS exam is it might show you a picture of an EKG, and it might ask you to specify what does it mean, what does it indicate, what does the P wave indicate, or it might actually show you a picture of a EKG like this, and you might actually have to click on the screen and specify which one is the P wave, which one is the T wave, which one is the QRS, which comes first. There are a few different types of questions that the TEAS 7 can ask you. It is a little bit more than multiple choice. They do have these questions like I've just described to you, hotspot questions where you have to click an image or click somewhere on the screen. There's also fill in the blank, and there's also ordered response where you have to put something in order. But the test is mostly multiple choice, but I am just giving you a heads up. You do want to make sure that you know what an EKG is, and you want to know what the waves on an EKG mean and where they would be on an EKG. So that's it. That wraps up our flashcard review of what you need to know as it relates to the cardiovascular system. So if there's any terms that you did not get right or anything that you missed that may have been on the back of my flashcard, just make sure that you are taking notes on that. And again, make sure to subscribe to check out all of our TEAS 7 science content. We do have other flashcard videos like this, but we also have practice test question videos. We also have videos that give you a list of what it is you need to be studying. And again, if you want to feel ready and confident, if you need help relearning, refreshing your knowledge of things like algebra, geometry, reading, English, biology, chemistry, scientific reasoning, or A&P, you can check out the TEAS 7 online course linked down in the description, or you can head over to smarteditionacademy.com. Thanks, guys. Let me know down in the comments when you are taking your TEAS exam and what kind of science video I should make to review the TEAS exam next.